When you look at this war in Iran, which the American people do not want, which was not authorized by conference, but even if it was, it should not have been initiated. He talked about obliterating, and then he said, oh, he did. It's all just bullshit. I'm not going to dismiss him as being an idiot. He's dangerous. He's dangerous. And America's security and prosperity are in the hands and on the line.
Yo, here's the crazy thing. In May of 2026, a little over a year, Donald Trump having been in office, everything that Kamala said has come to pass. She's a prophet. Yeah, I'm starting to realize that she's just prophetic. Listen to this.
Ours is a fight for freedom. Across our nation, we are witnessing a full-on assault on hard-fought, hard-won freedoms and rights. The freedom to vote, the freedom to live without fear of bigotry and hate, the freedom to love who you love openly and with pride, the freedom to learn and acknowledge our true and full history, and the freedom of a woman to make decisions about her own body.
Exactly what she said would happen is happening now. So no, I don't want to partner with people who couldn't see this, because she said it. We said it.
I'm getting really tired of pretending that Kamala Harris would have been just as bad as Donald Trump. I was talking to one of my friends the other night, and we were talking about just, the state of things, how awful everything is, and about who we voted for in 2024. These are not liberal friends. These are communist friends. These are real far leftist friends. And my friend was saying how they wanted to vote for Kamala because she was a better choice than Trump, but how at the last second they were like, oh, but the Palestinian children, I can't bring myself to vote for Kamala, who was still defending a genocide. And for a second I was like, yeah, no, I get that. And then I was like, okay, what about the trans kids in America? What about all of us living on this singular planet where Trump is rolling back the environmental protections? Talk about great equalizer. If this planet goes down, not only do we all go down, but actually the poor people and the regular people go down first, while the bourgeoisie get to jet out of town to their Nordic vacations. These two candidates were not the same, and Kamala Harris was an imperialist, she was a liberal, she was establishment Dem, she was a former prosecutor, but she also would have fucking defended gay people. She also wouldn't have threatened to wipe out the population of Iran. She also wouldn't be inciting political violence. She also wouldn't be rolling back environmental protections that specifically help people of color, or have defunded USAID, which literally saves lives across the world. And she definitely would have protected women's right to abortion. And I'm not saying she's anywhere close to perfect. I'm not even going to say she was a good candidate. But she was miles better than Donald Trump. And I'm frankly exhausted of just the leftist spaces where I have to make sure that I say that I didn't like Kamala Harris and that I voted for her begrudgingly. Because I did vote for her begrudgingly. There should have been a better candidate.
Kamala Harris was indeed a prophet. She predicted a lot of what is happening right now. And the people who laughed at her, mocked at her warnings, and ignored her speeches are starting to realize that she was right all along. Right now, the economy is struggling. Grocery prices are crushing families. Rent keep rising. Gas is high. And millions of Americans feel more stressed than ever. So let's get to see more reactions. Then I'll come back with more commentary, all right? Let's get into it.
The American dream is not real.
So it seems like the new talking point for all of the Republicans is imagine how bad it would be if Kamala Harris was in power. And the thing is, we don't have to imagine how bad anything would be. We can just turn on the news or walk out our front door or go try to fill up our gas tanks, and we already see how bad it is.
It's all just bullshit.
Did y'all see what Rachel Maddow said about Black Americans being targeted? Every Black person needs to watch this video.
We are now about 16 months into what has been from day one a concerted and intense targeting of Black Americans, specifically by this president and by this administration. On his first full day in office, he proclaims war on diversity efforts. not only in government, but in any institution in the country over which he can exert leverage, everything from schools and universities to law firms to private businesses of every stripe. He then immediately started firing some of the highest profile black public officials in the whole U.S. government, seemingly regardless of any other thing about them. Right away, we get the firing of the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Charles C.Q. Brown. We get the firing of the Librarian of Congress, Carla Hayden. And then it's Gwynne Wilcox from the National Labor Relations Board. And then it's Robert Primus, the chair of the Surface Transportation Board. And then it's Alvin Brown from the NTSB. And then it's Peggy Carr, the head of the National Center for Education Statistics. And then it's Willie Phillips from FERC, from the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. And then it's Lisa Cook from the Federal Reserve Board of Governors, and on and on and on.
And might I add, over 600,000 black women have been pushed out of the workforce since Dookie Booty took office. Continue.
Trump and his top political donor, Elon Musk, then started just lopping off huge swaths of the federal government. The largest and most egregious cuts targeted federal agencies that employed a disproportionate number of black employees. Reporter Erica Green wrote about this a few months ago for The Times, noting that nothing had moved backwards in the federal government for black Americans this quickly or this far in over 100 years. Since Woodrow Wilson came in 1912 and resegregated the federal workforce. Since 1965, all federal contractors have been banned by executive order from discriminating on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, or national origin. Donald Trump rescinded that 1965 rule on his first full day in office.
And I can't show the full clip because it's 6 minutes long, but she then went on to say that less than a month later, Dookie Booty rescinded the prohibition of segregated facilities, meaning that contractors could not segregate waiting rooms, restaurants, drinking fountains, all that bullshit. And now, according to HUD workers, they have dropped the enforcement of the Fair Housing Act, meaning motherfuckers could just discriminate against people for their race, religion, sexual orientation when it comes to housing. The black unemployment rate has spiked to a 7.5%, the highest that it's ever been. And just for comparison, it got as low as a 4.8% under Joe Biden. And let's not forget the most important one of all. The Supreme Court just gutted the Voting Rights Act of 1965, disproportionately affecting black voters, taking away our voices and representation when it comes to voting. So tell me again how Dookie Booty's not racist? To all you black Trump supporters, I hope everything you eat for the rest of your life tastes like shit.
Why didn't folks just listen to the educated black woman? She was right. Why didn't folks just listen to the educated black woman? Was it that hard?
Had we just elected the black lady with the silk press, had we just elected Big Sister General, had we just elected the black lady with the weird laugh, had we just elected Madam the wheels on the bus go round and round, we would not be at war with Iran right now. And I know what some of y'all are thinking. Joshua, why are you screaming? Joshua, how many times you gonna say this? I'm gonna keep saying it until it finally clicks. Because folks, this was an open book test. Not only was this an open book test, the professor was at the board giving the answers and we failed. Had we just elected the black lady with the weird laugh, folks would have money to purchase their first home. The American people would have quality health care. We would not be at war with Iran, spending billions of dollars of taxpayer money that has not been approved by Congress to fund this war. So I'm going to keep saying it, and I'm going to keep screaming it until the American people finally understand. If you could have just set your racism and your sexism aside and voted for Kamala Harris, we would be in a better position today.
Trumpers, this was for you. This is what you could have had, and this is what you got. This is what you could have had. You could have had universal health care with Kamala Harris. You could have had $20,000 as a first-time home buyer. Families having a newborn kid, your first kid, you'd got $6,000 in your tax return just for having that new kid. Also, you would have had a thriving economy. You would have had no wars. She was going to put cuts on price gouging, whether it was renting, whether it was fuel costs, all these things. It was actually in her plan if you went and read it. But the biggest thing is she was going to put 3 million more houses in the U.S. to bring down down the cost of homes. But here's what you did get. You got a failing economy. You got a pathological liar. You got a criminal. You also turned around right now and you have a gentleman who's put us in a war, who has spiked our gas prices, who has brung our fuel cost up, who has continued to run this country in the ground, who is also talks nasty and ugly to people, who also gets on Air Force One and says that that's the closest to heaven he'll ever get, which you probably voted for based on biblical principles. So you basically got an atheist in office, I'm guessing. I'm not for sure. But that's what you got. But the other's what you could have had. Do better in 28, and better yet in the midterms, let's vote blue so we can get this thing turned around before we lose this country altogether.
Just get over the election already. Just get over Kamala Harris already. It's been over a year. Do you realize how much was the process that this country had a litmus test of love versus hate, and more Americans chose hate over love? More Americans went into the voting booth or did their early mail-in ballots and decided to check a box of hate after a hateful campaign over one filled of love and unity. And you want me to get over that? Honey, I'm never gonna get over that. I'm never gonna process that, and I will never ever forgive someone for voting that way. You went after the rights of my community, you went after the rights of other marginalized communities, and you want me just to get over it? No, I'm not gonna build that bridge, honey. No.
Wow, I did not expect to see this. Kamala Harris is demanding the Democratic Party release the top secret report as to why the Democrats and Kamala Harris lost the 2024 election to Donald Trump. Former Vice President Kamala Harris, according to NBC News, is talking with donors and telling them that she is perfectly okay and wants the DNC to release the now buried autopsy that they put together using donor money to investigate why Kamala Harris lost. They did this whole investigation under DNC Chair Ken Martin and said they were going to release this information to the public so we can study and examine what happened in that election. And then, when they finished the report, they buried it. They have no intention of releasing it as of now, and everybody is scratching their heads thinking to themselves, why do the report if you aren't going to release it? What are you trying to hide? And the reality is, they're hiding the real reasons Kamala Harris lost. We know what some of those reasons may be, but I'm excited for the fact that Kamala Harris is calling for its release, because if she's calling for that, they might actually do it.
You said it, Deborah. So let's talk about it. First off, just because I know I only have a limited window before you feel tempted to scroll away, go check out the Election Truth Alliance if you want all the deets on this. Also, I do want to say, I feel like, yes, Elon is a really easy one to kind of like latch onto in terms of like who did it, but I don't think it was just him alone, you know? I think that it was a very big coordinated effort between a group of small people that wanted everything we've seen happen in the last year, give or take, to happen. Unfortunately, I think that includes people on both sides of the aisle, politically, as it were. But on the Elon front, he himself said it multiple times. And yeah, because of just who they are and how they move and how they speak and how they behave, everyone just kind of writes it off as like, oh, he's just saying that. Oh, he doesn't mean it. Okay, really? He literally tweeted when him and Trump were going through their big public breakup that if it weren't for, and I'll try to find the screenshot and put it here because I still have it somewhere, where he literally was like, oh, if it weren't for me, Trump would have lost the House and would only have the Senate 51-49. How could you possibly know that? How could you possibly know what the results would have been exactly if a factor was how do you know that? Unless also that tweet was posted 30 minutes after this one. Do y'all remember this? This was the day where Elon was literally going off publicly, airing everything out, seemingly. And if the Epstein thing ended up being true, which we found out a month after this, isn't it entirely likely that the other thing is too? And that's just one, one of many things that go into supporting the idea that this is true.
So this right here is just one of the many reasons why Donald Trump was always unfit to be president.
We have a man here who knows more about Medicaid, Medicare, medical crap than any human being. Where's Dr. Oz? It's the most boring trip I've ever made. He's telling me about Medicare, Medicaid. All I want to do is take care of you. I don't care. I said, you work out the details, but I did say give them the max. That's all I care about. Give them whatever the hell the max is.
So I don't know about you, but hearing the president complain about having to engage in conversations regarding healthcare, I don't think you could have asked for a better example of a president being completely out of touch with the American people. You know, Donald Trump, he has never had to fight for anything in his life. He's never had to fight to pay bills or food or gas or healthcare. And healthcare is a big issue, definitely within the top 3, that a majority of Americans have in this country. And hearing Donald Trump say things like, I'll just put it on my people to solve because he gets too bored talking about it. And the cherry on top of it all is that he's speaking to a room full of senior citizens. And complaining about Medicare and Medicaid in front of senior citizens isn't going to go over well. This is hands down the worst administration, worst president that this country has ever had.
Criminal Trump is by far the most disgraceful figure in modern presidential history. How could anyone vote for a guy with 34 felonies, 5 indictments, 26 sexual allegations, Epstein's best friend? All right, you have to be in a toxic cult to believe that Trump has ever been emotionally, psychologically, intellectually, or even ethically fit to be president of the United States. It's time to get rid of this vile human, and let's 8647, 8647, and get rid of criminal Trump.
Right now, communities in America are living in fear because of ICE crackdowns. America is becoming more divided politically, socially, and racially. Longtime allies around the world are pulling away as Trump threatens tariff, insults, talks about invading Greenland and annexing Canada, which creates tension with countries that used to trust the US. What was sold as America first is starting to feel like America isolated, America exhausted, America angry, and for many people, America lost. During the campaign, Kamala kept warning people about where the country could end up, She talked about division getting worse. She warned that Trump didn't have any economic plan to make life easier for the average American. She warned about the fear in immigrant communities, and all that stuff. But people brushed it off, They said she was exaggerating, fear-mongering, and others said that Trump was gonna fix everything. People really believe that life are gonna get cheaper, but now they're looking around and asking what really improved, because groceries are insanely expensive. Rent is crushing people. Gas prices are high, People are not stressed, and there is this constant tension everywhere politically. People are starting to realize that campaign promises sound good during the campaigns, but the reality is what people remember. This is a reminder that elections have real-life consequences. The choices people make at the ballot box, they affect real life, They affect your grocery prices, rent, jobs, and whether families feel safe or even stressed. And I think a lot of Americans right now are realizing that leadership actually matters, because at the end of the day, people don't just want slogans or political drama. People want leaders who genuinely care about normal working Americans, not just billionaires and not just giant corporations, People want leaders who understand what it is like to struggle to live paycheck to paycheck, to worry about bills, groceries, healthcare, and the future of their kids. And when people feel ignored, while the rich keep benefiting, frustration grows fast. This has become a wake-up call that who you vote can actually shape the direction of your everyday life. So I hope people are learning something. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Have a good one. I'll see you in the next video.